Well, Diane Masson is here today, and she is the author of the book, Your Senior Housing Options, and a lot of good stuff in here. Welcome back. Nice to see you here again.
Yes, glad to be here.
Yeah, and I know you are you're a resident here. You wrote this book, and you've talked a little bit about what came about why you wrote this book. So, kind of briefly remind people that this came about because of your own situation, right?
Correct. And
Yeah.
I actually dedicated the book to my mother
Yeah.
because she planned ahead. And then I've just recently been through a whole episode with my in-laws where they waited for a crisis. And, you know, it's a real struggle if people wait for a crisis. So a lot of the book is about, you know, do you want to plan ahead or do you want to wait for a healthcare crisis?
Yeah, exactly. And I think most people probably know someone in that situation, or at least getting to that situation. And what we're going to talk about today is that I think this is probably common for a lot of people in some form, that a lot of folks are in denial that they may need help. This is for a lot of things. It can be the actual caregiving, even people who finally need hearing aids, right? We all do that. I don't care what age you're at, you often will deny that you need help, whatever it may be.
Correct.
This is, you know, a lot more important than, you know, getting help to paint your house or something, saying you can do it yourself. What are some examples of this that seniors are kind of denying that they need help or just don't realize it? The approach to that to get them to kind of come on board. That's the most difficult part.
It's tough. A lot of the situations that I've seen over my 17-year senior housing career is some seniors have a daughter, you know, calling them once or twice a day to check and see, because if they don't answer the phone, it means that they fell. So there's a lot of seniors that have like some kind of system in place with a neighbor, with a daughter, something like that. Some seniors have a son or a daughter that's filling up their medication pill box and then calling them once, twice, or 3 times a day to make sure that they took their medications. Other daughters might, you know, adult children might be spending an entire Saturday cleaning up mom's house, getting her groceries, making her meals, and trying to set her up with all her medications and everything for 2 weeks, and then the daughter comes back in 2 weeks again.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of situations like that, but I really want to speak a little bit here to the neighbors.
Yeah.
And if, you know, you see that you have a neighbor that's struggling and you started taking them a meal here and there, and suddenly maybe it turned into you're making a meal every single night and taking it over because you're really concerned. You know, any neighbor's willing to do something for a week, but when it starts to turn into 6 months or a year and it's every day trying to help your neighbor, that's when it gets bad.
Yeah, exactly. And it could turn out to be that your neighbor doesn't want to be so neighborly anymore just because of the burden. And what do you do about having that first talk with that person that, whether it's a family person, maybe it is your neighbor, and you realize they need help? That can be kind of awkward, right?
It can be. And ultimately, there's about, you know, 5 different results that can happen when you try to have the talk, you know, with a senior, whether it's your parent or your neighbor. First and most common is they go into denial. I'm not ready to make a move yet. I'm okay. I'm fine living in my own home. So that might be one response. Second, they might just shut down and they just say, I don't want to discuss this, and they just walk away. The third is anger, where they say, you know, why are you questioning my ability to be independent? I'm fine. Leave me alone. And they're really frustrated. The fourth is confusion, where they say, you know, don't you want to come see me every day? You know, what's wrong? I don't understand. And that one, when you have the confusion one, there's probably some dementia going on.
Okay.
And then the fifth one, and this is obviously be the best one everybody wants, is somebody that accepts it. And they go, I understand that I'm being a burden. You know, maybe it's time to start taking a look at what are my senior housing options out there. I'm lonely, will you help me start looking? And that's probably, the best choice.
Yeah, and as far as the options, of course, I think probably the first thing that's evaluated is how much help do they need. It can be just simply that they need a qualified caregiver to come in maybe just one day a week to do the laundry, to do the weekly shopping, that
Correct.
time, all the way to the point that they may need to consider moving in to a place full time, right?
Correct. But the first thing is you got to have the talk. And I've had sons, daughters, spouses, neighbors come to me over my career and go, Diane, what do we do? How do we have the talk with somebody? So I have 7 tips on how to do that. Number 1 is you got to set the stage. So you got to know your senior well enough. Are you going to have a public talk or are you going to have a private talk? So if it's your parent and they're going to yell at you, you're better off being in public in a restaurant or something like that so they don't. And if you know that they're going to shut down and just go in a bedroom or something like that and just tune you out, then again, it's better to do it in a public place in a restaurant. Otherwise, if your senior's more conducive to having a private talk, then buy or make their favorite cookies, make them their favorite cup of tea or make a pot of coffee and sit down around the dining room table and that's setting the stage for the talk. Then the second thing you want to do is just tell them how much you care about them if you're their neighbor or how much you love them if you're the child. And then the third thing is you want to be real factual with your concerns. You want to say, you have fallen twice. You've missed your medications 3 times this week. I'm coming over every single day to help you. So you got to be real factual. And then the fourth thing is that you address your fears in really a lot of detail. So, every day, for example, when I'm calling you on the telephone and you don't answer within 4 rings, I'm thinking that you fell. I'm freaking out. I'm really upset for you. I can't handle this anymore. It's creating stress in my life. This is too much for me. And if something happens to me, you're going to be in jeopardy because who's going to take care of you then? And it's okay to cry, even at this point where it's important to share the emotions with them. Then the 5th step is to recommend a solution to explore senior housing options together. And say, I know you don't want to make a move, but it's healthier for you and healthier for me. Let's go do this together.
Okay. Looking over your book here, what's really nice is that this is obviously what we've been talking about is in the book, but you really go over so many other things as well. And I think one thing I can say about this book, it's good for the person who needs it and the person who needs to help the person that needs it in some form or another. It's a guide for both of them, isn't it?
Correct. And that's the number 6 tip in having the talk is you don't know when you walk into a retirement community if it's a good one or a mediocre one. And this book teaches you how to ask the right questions so that you know. And so you could sit down with your senior and actually read this book with them chapter by chapter or each have your own, and then that will help. And then the 7th tip is scheduling a luncheon tour at a retirement community that you have vetted by using the questions in this book. And then, you got to remember they're not just looking for their options today, but what about their future care and the costs?
Right.
So, Freedom Village up the street, which is a continuing care retirement community in Lake Forest and the Village in Hemet, both offer a guarantee of care for life. And so you want to look at the total cost, the total package of what you need, and if they'll transition you and things like that. It's really important to look at the whole package.
All right. I understand the book now you can get digital edition, Kindle.
Yes, you
right?
can. Yes, you
Which
can.
is great. And so obviously you can find this on Amazon because if it's Kindle, you can find that. And as long as you have any kind of device that'll read Kindle books, you'll be fine. You don't need an actual Kindle, although there's nice. Whether you have an iPad, iPhone, a Surface, doesn't matter. you'll be able to get the Kindle edition. Great to have you on.
Thank you.
And great advice, really good. As I said, for both the person that's concerned about a loved one or a neighbor, but also that person themselves, this book will help out. Good to see you. Have a good holiday.
All right, you
if
as
I don't
well.
see you before, and we'll be right back. Oh, I do want to quickly say, the website, tipstoseniors.com, right?
That's correct.
Tipstoseniors.com. Very good. You get a lot of information there. Diane, good to see you again.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.